When 7-year-old Emma found her unconscious mother's phone, she scrolled through contacts looking for help. One wrong tap connected her to Michael Harrison, a billionaire CEO who hadn't smiled in years. What she said next would shatter his cold heart and change both their lives forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The rain drummed against the hospital window as 7-year-old Emma sat curled up in the uncomfortable plastic chair. Her teddy bear, Mr. Buttons, was clutched tightly in her small arms. The sterile smell of disinfectant filled the air, and the constant beeping of machines created a symphony of worry that had become all too familiar over the past 3 weeks. Emma's mom, Sarah, lay unconscious in the hospital bed. The doctors said she had been in a car accident and might not wake up. The words were too big and scary for Emma to fully understand, but she knew something was very wrong. Her grandmother had been taking care of her, but today Grandma had to go home to get some rest. "I'll be back tomorrow morning, sweetheart," Grandma had whispered, kissing Emma's forehead. "Stay brave for Mommy." Now Emma was alone with just the nurse checking in every hour. The 7-year-old had been staring at her mother's phone, which lay on the bedside table. She remembered what Mommy always told her: "If you're ever scared or need help, call someone from my contacts." Emma picked up the phone with trembling fingers. She knew Mommy's passcode because she had watched her type it 100 times. 0-8-1-5, Emma's birthday. The phone unlocked and she scrolled through the contacts. Most of the names didn't make sense to her, but she saw a Mom at the top of the recent calls list. But Emma knew that was Grandma, who was already gone. She scrolled down and saw another name that caught her attention: Michael Harrison, work. Emma remembered Mommy mentioning someone named Michael from work sometimes. Maybe he could help. With shaky fingers she pressed the call button. 300 miles away, Michael Harrison sat in his corner office on the 47th floor of Harrison Industries. The city lights twinkled below as he worked late into the evening, reviewing quarterly reports. At 45, Michael had built his company from the ground up, turning it into a multi-billion-dollar empire. But success had come at a price. His marriage had ended 2 years ago, and he rarely spoke to his teenage daughter, who lived with her mother in California. Michael was known in business circles as brilliant but cold. His employees respected him but kept their distance. He had walls built so high that even he had forgotten what it felt like to let someone in. The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. He glanced at the caller ID: Sarah Mitchell, Marketing. Sarah was one of his best employees, creative and dedicated. But it was nearly 9 p.m. Why would she be calling so late? "Sarah? Is everything all right?" Michael answered, expecting to hear about some urgent project deadline. Instead, a small, trembling voice spoke. "Hello? Are you Michael from Mommy's work?" Michael paused, confused. "I'm sorry, who is this?" "I'm Emma. I'm 7. Mommy is Sarah and she's sleeping but she won't wake up and I'm scared." Michael's heart skipped a beat. He had heard from HR that Sarah had been in an accident, but he didn't know the details. He had sent flowers to the hospital and assumed she would recover soon. "Emma, sweetheart, where are you right now?" Michael's voice softened in a way it hadn't in years. "I'm at the hospital with Mommy. She's been sleeping for many days. The doctors say she might not wake up." Emma's voice broke and Michael could hear her starting to cry. Something inside Michael shifted. This wasn't a business call or a problem he could solve with money or strategy. This was a child, alone and frightened, reaching out for help. "Emma, I need you to listen to me, okay? You're very brave for calling. Can you tell me which hospital you're at?" "St. Mary's Hospital. Room 314. The nurse said Grandma went home and I'm supposed to wait, but I'm scared and Mommy won't wake up even when I talk to her." Michael was already reaching for his coat. "Emma, I want you to stay right there, okay? I'm coming to see you and your Mommy. Can you do that for me?" "You're coming here? But why? You don't even know me." "Because your Mommy works for me and that makes you important to me too. Plus, no little girl should be alone when she's scared. I'll be there in about an hour. Stay brave, Emma." Michael had never driven so fast in his life. He called his assistant and had her contact the hospital to let them know he was coming. He also asked her to find out everything she could about Sarah's condition and Emma's situation. During the drive, Michael found himself thinking about his own daughter, Jessica. When was the last time he had really talked to her? When was the last time she had called him when she was scared? The answer made his chest tighten with regret. When Michael arrived at St. Mary's Hospital, he went straight to room 314. Through the slightly open door, he saw a tiny figure curled up in a chair, fast asleep, clutching a worn teddy bear. Sarah lay motionless in the hospital bed, connected to various machines. Michael knocked gently on the door frame. Emma stirred and opened her eyes. "Are you Michael?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. "Yes, I am. And you must be Emma." Michael entered the room slowly, not wanting to scare her. Emma studied his face carefully. He was tall and wore an expensive suit, but his eyes looked kind. "You really came. I told you I would. How are you feeling?" Emma shrugged. "Scared. And hungry. I don't like the food here." Michael smiled for the first time in weeks. "Well, we can fix the hungry part. But first, can you tell me what happened to your mommy?" Emma explained about the car accident, how Grandma had been staying with her, and how scared she was that Mommy might never wake up. As she talked, Michael found himself sitting on the edge of her chair, listening with an attention he rarely gave even to his most important business meetings. "Emma, has anyone explained to you what the doctors are doing to help your mommy? They use big words I don't understand. They say she has something wrong with her brain because of the accident." Michael looked at Sarah, then back at Emma. He made a decision that surprised even himself. "Emma, would you like me to talk to the doctors? Maybe I can help them explain things better. And maybe we can figure out the best way to help your mommy get better." "You can do that? I can try. But first, let's get you something good to eat. What's your favorite food?" "Pizza. With extra cheese." "Pizza it is." Over the next few hours, Michael did something he had never done before. He used all of his resources not for business but for a little girl and her mother. He spoke to the head of neurology, learned about Sarah's condition, and arranged for the best specialist to review her case. Sarah had suffered a traumatic brain injury. The doctors were cautiously optimistic but couldn't guarantee she would wake up. Even if she did, there might be complications. Michael explained this to Emma in simple terms, always emphasizing hope while being honest about the uncertainty. "So Mommy's brain is hurt, but the doctors are very smart and they're working hard to help her?" "Exactly. And while they're working, I'm going to make sure you're taken care of too." Emma looked at him with wide eyes. "Why are you being so nice to me? Mommy says most busy people don't have time for kids." Michael felt a lump in his throat. "Your mommy is right about most busy people. But sometimes, when we meet someone special, it changes how we think about what's really important." "Am I special?" "Very special, Emma. Very special indeed." Michael called Emma's grandmother and explained the situation. Margaret, Sarah's mother, was grateful but confused by this wealthy stranger's sudden involvement in their lives. "Mr. Harrison, I appreciate your concern, but I don't understand why you're doing all this. Sarah just works in your marketing department." "Mrs. Patterson, Sarah is a valued employee, and Emma called me when she was scared. I couldn't just ignore that. I'd like to help if you'll let me." Over the following days, Michael found himself spending more and more time at the hospital. He worked from his laptop in the waiting room, took calls while walking the halls, and always made sure Emma had company. He arranged for Emma to continue her schoolwork with a tutor who came to the hospital. He made sure she had proper meals, comfortable clothes, and even brought some of her favorite toys from home. But more importantly, he talked to her. Really talked to her. Emma told him about her dreams of becoming a veterinarian, her favorite books, and her worry about starting second grade without her mom. Michael found himself sharing things too, about his own daughter, his regrets about working too much, and even some funny stories from when he was a kid. "You have a daughter?" Emma asked one afternoon as they shared ice cream in the hospital cafeteria. "Yes, her name is Jessica. She's 15 now." "Do you see her a lot?" Michael hesitated. "Not as much as I should. I've been working too much and her mom and I, well, we don't live together anymore." "That's sad. I bet she misses you." "I hope so. I miss her too. You should call her. When I was scared I called you and you came. Maybe she's scared sometimes too." Out of the mouths of babes, Michael thought. This 7-year-old was teaching him lessons that years of business school and success couldn't. On the 5th day of Michael's visits, something miraculous happened. Sarah's eyes fluttered open. Emma had been reading aloud from her favorite book when she noticed her mother's hand move slightly. "Mommy? Mommy, can you hear me?" Emma's voice was filled with excitement and hope. Sarah's eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then gradually finding Emma's face. "Emma?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, Mommy, it's me. You're awake. You're really awake." Emma was crying now, but they were tears of joy. Michael, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, felt his own eyes fill with tears. He started to leave to give them privacy, but Sarah noticed him. "Michael? What are you doing here?" Sarah was confused, trying to piece together what had happened. "Emma called me and, well, it's a long story. I'm just so glad you're awake." Over the next hour, as doctors checked Sarah's responses and confirmed she was going to be okay, Emma excitedly told her mother about everything that had happened. "Michael brought me pizza every day, Mommy, and ice cream. And he talked to all the doctors with the big words and made them explain everything so I could understand. And he read me stories and helped me with my math homework." Sarah looked at Michael with wonder and gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to thank me, Sarah. Emma taught me more in these past few days than I've learned in years." As Sarah recovered over the following weeks, Michael continued to visit. But now it wasn't out of obligation or emergency. It was because he had found something he didn't know he was missing: a sense of family and purpose beyond business. Emma had asked him to call his daughter, and he finally did. "Dad." Jessica's voice was surprised when she answered. "Hi, sweetheart. I know it's been too long since we talked. I was wondering, would you like to have dinner this weekend? Just the two of us." The conversation was tentative at first, but Jessica agreed. It was a start. Michael also made changes at work. He implemented new policies for employee support, created an emergency fund for workers facing personal crises, and most surprisingly to everyone who knew him, he started leaving the office by 6 p.m. every day. 3 months later, Sarah had made a full recovery and was back at work part-time. Emma was thriving in second grade, and Michael had become a fixture in their lives. Not as a boss or benefactor, but as family. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, Michael was in the park pushing Emma on the swings while Sarah watched from a nearby bench. Jessica, who was visiting for the weekend, sat next to Sarah, the two of them becoming fast friends despite their age difference. "Higher, Michael. Higher." Emma called out, laughing as the swing carried her toward the sky. "Hold on tight." Michael called back, grinning in a way his employees wouldn't have recognized. Sarah shook her head in amazement. 6 months ago, if someone had told me that my daughter would accidentally call the CEO of the company and that he would become like family to us, I would have thought they were crazy. Jessica nodded. "Dad's different now. He calls me every day, and when he listens, he really listens." Emma changed him. "She has a gift for that," Sarah said. "She sees the best in people and brings it out." As the sun began to set, the unlikely family gathered for dinner at Michael and Emma's favorite pizza place. The one they had discovered during those first difficult days at the hospital. Emma sat between Michael and Sarah, chattering excitedly about her school play while Jessica helped her practice her lines. Michael looked around the table and realized this was what he had been missing his entire life. "Emma," he said during a rare quiet moment, "do you remember that night you called me when you were scared?" "Of course. That was when you became my Michael." "Your Michael?" "Yeah, not just Mommy's work Michael, but my Michael. The one who comes when I'm scared and brings pizza and makes everything better." Michael felt his eyes mist over. "I love being your Michael." "Good, because you can't quit. It's the most important job you have." And as Michael looked around the table at his chosen family, Sarah, who had taught him about resilience, Emma, who had taught him about love, and Jessica, who was teaching him about forgiveness and second chances, he knew Emma was absolutely right. It was the most important job he had ever had, and he had found it because a scared little girl had the courage to reach out when she needed help most. Sometimes the most life-changing moments come from the most unexpected phone calls. And sometimes a child's innocent trust can break down walls that years of therapy and self-reflection couldn't touch. Michael Harrison was still a successful businessman, but now he was something far more important. He was Emma's Michael, Jessica's dad, and Sarah's friend. And that made all the difference in the world. The call that started with fear had ended with love, proving that sometimes the wrong number is exactly the right call.